Last month, the judge issued a temporary restraining order blocking her from making those appointments without approval from trustees.
I am about to address some things as the supervisor. There will be no comments. There won't be anything. It'll just be me addressing you guys to tell you what's going on.
Get ready for a wild ride as we dive into the tumultuous, chaotic, and almost unbelievable world of Dalton, Illinois, where Mayor Tiffany Henyard is causing quite a stir, and not in the way you'd expect. Henyard, the first female mayor of this small town, finds herself at the heart of one of the most jaw-dropping political scandals you've likely never heard of. But trust us, once you hear the details, you'll want to know every twist and turn of this unfolding drama.
Investigator, I've got some witnesses from here. Inside I have from the United States District Court and District.
Despite being entangled in numerous investigations, facing serious allegations of misappropriated public funds, and enduring a barrage of accusations that threaten to permanently damage her reputation, Tiffany Henyard has declared her intention to run for re-election as the mayor of Dalton. Yes, re-election. The announcement has left many questioning why someone so deeply mired in controversy, already under fire for mismanagement and questionable financial practices, would continue to pursue a political career under such intense scrutiny. To comprehend this puzzling decision, one must first revisit Henyard's meteoric rise to power. When she became the first woman to serve as mayor of Dalton in 2021, it was heralded as a historic and hopeful moment for the small village just south of Chicago. Henyard campaigned on a platform of transparency, reform, and improving the quality of life for Dalton residents. Her promises resonated with a community disillusioned by the failures of the previous administration, sparking a wave of optimism for change and progress. However, this initial hope soon began to wane. As Henyard's administration took shape, cracks in her leadership became increasingly evident. Allegations of financial mismanagement began to surface, including suspicions of missing public funds and improper allocation of taxpayer money. Public outcry grew louder, prompting a cascade of investigations into her administration. Once celebrated for its potential, her tenure was increasingly marred by skepticism and distrust. Reports of dubious financial dealings, unaccounted for expenditures, and negligence in critical areas, such as insurance and senior services, further fueled public frustration. Compounding the issues were Henyard's contentious behavior and refusal to accept accountability for the mounting turmoil surrounding her leadership. These factors alienated her from both the public and political allies. What began as a promising political career unraveled in dramatic fashion, giving rise to growing unrest and the widespread belief that Henyard was overwhelmed by the demands of her position. The controversies didn't stop at her public office. Henyard's personal financial struggles also came to light, including allegations of unpaid rent and legal disputes with her landlord. These revelations created the impression that her personal and professional lives were both in disarray. Meanwhile, legal battles piled up, with Henyard filing multiple lawsuits, including one to challenge her removal from the Thornton Township Democratic ballot after losing in a contentious caucus vote. To her critics, these legal maneuvers only reinforced the perception that she was more focused on preserving her political career than addressing the needs of the constituents who had elected her. Despite these mounting challenges, Henyard's decision to seek re-election defies expectations. To some, her decision reflects audacity, a refusal to concede defeat, and a determination to fight for her political survival. Henyard may see herself as a resilient leader, hoping to frame her controversies as the product of systemic challenges rather than personal failings. By seeking re-election, she could be attempting to rally her remaining supporters and shift the narrative in her favor. Others argue that Henyard's re-election bid is less about resilience and more about necessity. With her political career hanging by a thread and critics closing in, running for re-election may be her only path to securing her future and rebuilding her credibility. It's possible she views this move as an opportunity to demonstrate her commitment to the people of Dalton and to turn the page on her administration's troubled past. Henyard's bold decision comes at a time when Dalton is facing significant financial and political challenges. Programs intended to serve vulnerable populations, such as seniors and low-income families, remain stalled due to alleged mismanagement. Her critics accuse her of neglecting these critical services, but Henyard may see re-election as a chance to rectify past mistakes and restore trust in her leadership. Regardless of the reasoning behind her decision, Henyard's re-election campaign sends a clear message. She is undeterred by the relentless criticism and opposition. Whether her bid is a last-ditch effort to salvage her political career or a genuine attempt to overcome adversity, one thing is certain. Her decision has reignited the debate about Dalton's future and the leadership it needs to move forward.
Administration is shameful. Y'all are a disgrace.
We're watching the fall of this administration.
Almost immediately after taking office, Tiffany Henyard's leadership style began to draw sharp criticism. Trustees, residents, and even former allies accused her of running the village like a personal kingdom. Decisions were made behind closed doors with minimal transparency or public input. And most alarmingly, she was criticized for treating taxpayer money as if it were monopoly cash, throwing it around recklessly. By 2022, just 1 year into her term, the dissatisfaction among voters had reached a boiling point. This led to a rare recall effort, culminating in her removal from office. Frustrated Dalton residents, fed up with her leadership, voted to oust her. However, Henyard, ever the fighter, wasn't ready to concede defeat. She took the recall decision to court, and in a surprising twist, the Illinois Appellate Court sided with her, tossing out the recall votes. This legal victory handed her another shot at the office she had just lost. In a move that stunned many, Henyard returned to power as if nothing had happened. This controversial comeback left residents questioning her resilience, or, as some described it, her defiance. Instead of taking a step back to reassess her approach or repair relationships, Henyard doubled down on her leadership style. Unfortunately, the situation continued to deteriorate. If anyone hoped she might use the second chance to reevaluate her methods or adopt a more collaborative approach, they were sorely mistaken. Her leadership remained as contentious as ever, and tensions in Dalton only grew. Scandals began to pile up, adding to the discontent and distrust among the community. Then came the most alarming development yet. Earlier this year, the FBI arrived at Dalton Village Hall. This wasn't a routine visit. They were there to investigate the village's financial records. What they uncovered painted a troubling picture of the administration's handling of taxpayer money. The FBI scrutiny suggested that the financial mismanagement under Henyard's leadership was far more serious than previously thought. Their investigation only deepened existing concerns about irregularities, mishandling of funds, and unethical practices within her administration. These revelations lent credibility to long-standing accusations of incompetence and corruption, placing her leadership under an even harsher spotlight. Far from silencing her critics, the federal probe amplified calls for accountability and reform. Trustees, residents, and observers alike expressed growing concern over what might be uncovered next. Instead of rallying her community or presenting herself as a leader focused on serving the people, Henyard's tenure has left her increasingly isolated. Public trust in her administration has eroded, and frustration among residents has reached new heights. Yet, despite the mounting criticism, Henyard remains undeterred. Her relentless and unapologetic drive to hold on to power has become a defining feature of her leadership, a trait that may ultimately lead to her downfall. Adding to the turmoil, reports emerged accusing Henyard of using public funds for personal indulgences. Allegations surfaced that she had spent tens of thousands of taxpayer dollars on extravagant purchases, including a personal shopping spree, on Amazon. These claims only further fueled public outrage, casting doubt on her commitment to fiscal responsibility and transparency. Critics argue that her actions demonstrate a blatant disregard for the principles of ethical governance, which she had pledged to uphold. With the FBI investigation looming and public dissatisfaction at an all-time high, Dalton's already turbulent political landscape seems poised for even greater unrest. Henyard's administration stands at the center of a storm of scrutiny, with her leadership under constant question. The future remains uncertain. Will Tiffany Henyard weather the storm she has created? Or is this the final chapter in a political career defined by defiance and controversy? As tensions escalate and trust erodes, one thing is clear: her time as mayor of Dalton has left an indelible mark, one fraught with scandal, division, and unanswered questions.